A global movement and the leader in visibility conferences for women founders through stages and community. Who's up next in the golden chair? Join us. I'm your host, Christina of Women Getting Visible. Well, hello there, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am so excited for today's guest. Holy moly. So listen, I met her literally a week ago, and there was this moment that I went, I know you. Your heart is so golden. You are such an open soul. And literally, we caught eyes with each other. She finished speaking, and we hugged. Okay. So that is literally what happened, because that is who this person is to me. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on Beth.
Hello. Oh, that was so sweet. Thank you so much. I felt the same.
Oh my gosh. You know, it's so funny when those moments happen in our life and they become that significant because they're not often. But
Right.
there's some spark that was just like, I know you from here, somewhere in the universe.
So nice. I love it.
Oh, so Beth, everyone wants to hear about you. Where in the world are you calling from today? And tell us a little bit more about what you do. And there's so many incredible things. So hold tight, everyone.
Well, I'm currently based out of Northern Virginia in the US, and I've spent over 32 years in the IT, cybersecurity, compliance, and operational leadership space in both the federal and the commercial industries. I'm currently a chief operating officer at R3, and I sit on several boards, nonprofit as well as some corporate boards, and including the cyber AB as well. At my core, I'm someone who builds structure out of chaos, whether that's in business, teams, or life. Although life these days is throwing me so many curveballs, I feel like it's a little chaotic. I've led organizations through massive growth and built high-performing teams, helped companies turn compliance from a checkbox exercise into something that actually drives results. And then on a more personal level, I'm also navigating stage 4 neuroendocrine cancer. It's a rare cancer that experience has really deeply shaped how I lead, who I am as a person, how I show up, how I think about impact, and how I live my life these days. And it's funny, I also utilize the compliance background in navigating my own healthcare. And it was actually pivotal usage in risk management and how I actually came to diagnosis. I do a lot of speaking as well in areas of emotional intelligence, overcoming adversity, from homelessness to the C-suite, and as well as cybersecurity, risk management, AI, compliance, and the gamut. I'm a grandma of my first grandchild. He's 2.5 years old. He's my little sidekick, my little bestie. And I'm someone who believes that resilience isn't about being tough. It's about continuing to move forward with purpose, even when things are hard. That's who I am.
Ooh, that's so incredible. And just that in itself, the word resilience. I mean, what you're going through in life, like you said, the curveballs that you're not expecting and showing up, because I think that is part of how you started your talk. When we met the other day, I was just like, ooh, what does it mean to you? And I thought it was such an interesting way to bring about and then listen to the answers, because my answer wasn't in that room as I listened to other people talk, because to me, the word was recovery. It was, what does it look like on the other side? For me, I'm not somebody who gets stuck in the moment. I'm always looking ahead and like, what does that look like? So I don't know what that tells you about my emotional intelligence.
Well, I think with the cancer journey, I found that when you realize life brings you curveballs all the time, and it's always struggle. And sometimes you want to say, why me? And why does this keep happening? Or I think it's just the evolution of life. It's just normal. And when you look back at the past in your life, and you see that you have overcome whatever those issues have been in the past, you start to realize that you've gotten through them. You've gotten through them successfully. You might not always like the outcome, but you got through them. And so remembering to pat yourself on the back for that as well, and reflecting on those moments can help you make your future perspective even more reliable and easier to deal with in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's incredible is when you even look at your life's work, talking about taking the chaos and putting systems to it, creating something that's understandable, manageable. That's been more or less the theme of your life's career too.
It is. It absolutely is.
Uh,
It definitely is.
yeah. So tell us why you got into the work that you did. What was the inspiration for you to do what you've done?
Well, when I first started out, I had my first son at 21, and I was making $8 an hour in a retail as an assistant store manager. And I knew then that I was not going to be able to survive, and especially in the DC metro area, making that kind of money.
Yeah.
And so I said to myself, what is the quickest thing that I can do to make the most money the fastest? And I had always wanted to be a doctor. And in fact, I applied to Marymount for a nursing program and got accepted. But back then, you didn't have online, and everything was needing to be during the day. And so I needed to maintain the job that I had. And so I said, computers is the way to go. And so I started taking some classes in that. And this is when my son and I were in a homeless shelter, and we were there for about a year. I was working and going to school. And so obviously my background from that wasn't perfectly planned path. I mean, I wanted it to be one thing. It didn't end up being that. But I will say that I became very good at it, and I was exposed to compliance at my very first job, actually. And I had a software development manager who was a woman. I was hired as a secretary, but she didn't believe that women should just be secretaries. And I don't necessarily view that. I think that executive assistants and so forth are very crucial and very pivotal and very helpful to those that need it. And but that was her perspective. And so I started being thrown into compliance space very quickly. My life, even though it wasn't perfectly planned, it was built through experience, challenges, and a lot of figuring out things along the way for myself. And even early on in my career and in life, I saw how often organizations operate in chaos with no structure, no consistency, no process, no real accountability. I realized that when you don't have these strong foundations, everything suffers. Your people, your customers, your outcomes. So what inspired me was the opportunity to fix that, to bring clarity and process and leadership into environments that needed it. And perhaps subconsciously, I was trying to put some clarity, process, and leadership into my own personal life as well. And it's funny that people even today are always saying, do you use compliance and even in your personal life? And I 1,000% do. But if I'm being honest, the deeper inspiration came too from wanting to prove that you can lead with both strength and empathy. And as a woman who didn't have a degree and who was a single parent, I had to learn very quickly to ask for what I wanted, to push for what I wanted. And I knew that I was something special in my career. And I knew that I was self-teaching and I was growing. And if I wanted something, an opportunity, I reached out and asked for it. And if I didn't get it, I kept going at different paths, different approaches to try to get what I wanted to have for my career. So you can lead with both the strength and the empathy. You don't have to choose between results and people. You can build the both, but you got to do it right. So that's kind of inspiration for me and my kids ultimately.
That's incredible. I mean, just that story, I'm like, everybody, did you hear that? Did you listen? She was in a homeless shelter. She figured it out. To me, right there is just like, okay, like when we dig deep and we find those strengths within us, you know, that empathy, understanding life from a completely different perspective, and that you're able to bring that to the table for who you are. That is just, woo, mind-blowing. What what is your driving force today with the work that you're currently doing? And can I just say, I love the way that you talk about it because it's in language, because corporate language can get tricky, but you're speaking about it in such a beautiful way that someone who doesn't really understand can really know what it is that you're talking about. So I want to say thank you for that as well. But back to the question, what is that inspiration that keeps you going today?
Well, as you recall, during the talk last week, I talked about what my favorite business book is, and it's not any, uh, uh, you know, um, nonfiction business book. It's actually There's a Monster at the End of this book, starring lovable Furiel Grover,
I knew that
and
book.
it's my favorite book. My grandmother read that to me as a little girl, and the premise is that you fear yourself, you fear the unknown more than anything, and that can often hold you back. And so, being confident in yourself is really fake it until you make it. I mean, that you're going to have fear, but I do just shove that aside and keep going. And my diagnosis, you talked about what drives me after my diagnosis, which will be 10 years this year. um, and I I've always been a positive person. I've always been a mentor, a sponsor. I always help other people grow and do a lot for other people. And I said to myself, I wanted to have, I actually said to myself, at my funeral, I don't want people to walk out and forget the impact that I made for them. I don't want them to just think, never think about me again. And it's not ego driven. It's how can I affect and impact and positively impact the world around me. So I made a very conscious decision to do things that drive that. Having a positive effect on the world around me. So, driving me now is impact, and not just surface level impact, real impact. For example, I have the blog on Facebook, Living with Neuroendocrine Cancer, that I started 7 years ago. And I have over 7,000 followers on there worldwide. And people reach out all of the time and tell me that I had a positive effect on them, that I helped them, uh, you know, find a pathway forward. I help them get through the day. And that means something to me. I feel privileged and honored and humbled to be able to hold that, for people and with people. And then from a professional perspective, I've seen what happens when leadership lacks emotional intelligence, when teams feel unsupported, when organizations prioritize check boxes over outcomes, when businesses aren't run through process and best practices. It creates a lot of burnout, misalignment, missed potential, and it really decreases not only customer satisfaction, but employee satisfaction.
Mhm.
So I'm driven to change that in the world around me as much as I can, whether it's through my work in compliance, my speaking, the initiatives I'm building, my blog. It's about helping people and organizations actually function better, not just look good on paper, right? And, more on the personal side, again, my diagnosis really changed everything for me, and it forced me to get a very clear picture on what really matters.
Mhm.
I don't waste time anymore on things that don't create value or meaning. And I think that also ties in with the emotional intelligence, being able to separate the personal and the professional, being able to look at things from a process approach versus an emotional approach. Sometimes I can maybe be accused of being a little cold, but on the inside, I'm very empathetic. I'm super empathetic, so much so it zaps my energy so much. And I have a huge heart. But, when I'm trying to separate and solve problems, I got to keep that emotion out of it so we can be effective and go forward. I'm here to build, to help, and to leave things better than I found them, and to enable the future generations to be better as well.
Yes. Oh my goodness. There's so much packed in those comments that you just said. And I love it because of the impact that you are creating every day. So with that, It is time for our mid-roll dance program here to get us going, to remind you to join us for our visibility accountability group, which is Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. You're open to join that at any time. It is part of our
Share your story, own your name, step in the light, ignite your flame, show up, shine out, it's time to be heard, flip fear into power with every word, visibility, accountability, we write a wild new legacy.
and we're back. Oh my goodness. So now comes one of my favorite questions that I love to ask. It's about visibility because visibility means so much to so many people. What does visibility mean to you, and why does that matter?
Visibility means being able to have your voice heard and to feel heard, feel seen from my perspective or an individual's perspective. And, visibility matters because people can't learn from what they can't see. There are so many individuals going through challenges, whether it's in leadership, business, personal health, that feel alone. As a lot of people on my blog, they often say to me, I don't feel like I'm alone anymore. I feel like I'm not the only one going through this. And I believe that when you show up authentically, excuse me, I'm like, you give other people permission to do the same.
Yeah.
You create connection, understanding, and momentum. I think sometimes in some of my employees, it can be uncomfortable because I want to talk about, if there was a challenge that we had, I want to talk about it together when we're both in a calm state and say, what happened? Why did we feel the way we did? And I'm open to hearing that from other people. I want them to know that encourages them to do the same as well, hopefully. You can create that connection, understanding, and the momentum forward. For me, visibility isn't about attention. It's
Mhm.
about impact.
Mhm.
If sharing my story even helps one person feel less alone or take action of some sort in their own life, have a positive impact or effect on them, it's worth it for me.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, and it is, I mean, that visibility, also, there's that thread of vulnerability that we put ourselves out there to share, whether we're ready to or not, of just going, "Okay, here I am."
And I've been practicing that. I wasn't very good at that, just with all of the challenges and issues in my life. Had that wall built up
Yeah.
around, and I had some friendships several years ago, well, quite a few years ago now, and they taught me how to be more vulnerable and open up. That was not an easy thing, and I still struggle with that on a day-to-day basis, but I am much better about doing that, and I practice that all the time. I want to be able to scale my impact, and if I'm not vulnerable, I can't do that.
Yes, yes, oh my goodness, and so what is next for you? What are you putting out into the world? Because I think you have such a fantastic perspective of the way that you approach every day as well. So what is the future for Beth?
Uh, I'm working on building platforms, frameworks, and communities that help people navigate complexity, whether that's in business, in leadership, in life. I want to continue doing more of what I'm doing. I'm especially focused from a professional perspective on helping organizations move from control theater to real operational effectiveness and doing organizational business risk management. There's a lot of focus and emphasis on financial risk management, but there's not really business across the board, true risk and issue management. And it's a shame because it really drives how an organization functions, and it can head off a lot of the chaos that's there. So making sure that businesses are able to things that actually work and not just check boxes.
Yeah.
And then on the speaking and professional side, I'm also continuing to expand my work in the emotional intelligence, resiliency, because those are, for me, real differentiators in leadership, being able to show up authentically. I'm also personally very committed to living fully, continuing to push myself and take on new experiences and show others that even in the face of uncertainty, you can still create something meaningful. And I created a bucket list when I was diagnosed, that the rule is that anybody can add something to my bucket list, and I have to do it. I can't say no. And the only exception is I'm not jumping out of an airplane, but everything else. And I used to be really afraid to swim in the ocean above my shins. I'm a good swimmer. It was just I was afraid of the critters. And as part of the bucket list, somebody encouraged me to become a scuba diver. And so me being me, I took it to the nth level and became ultimately a master scuba diver, which is the highest scuba diver non-commercial credentialing. And I became a rescue diver, and I took it a step further and pushed myself and became a free diver, and ultimately became an advanced free diver as well. So yeah, I just keep pushing and trying new opportunities, because I found the more I open myself up to things, the more my life is supposed to head that way. If that makes sense.
Yes, yes, I love it. So there is no adversity that stands in your way. You will just conquer it and stand at the top of it and go, yes, I did this. I love that.
And there's days I don't want to get out of bed. There's days I'm super depressed. You know, it doesn't mean that those things don't happen. It just means that I'm going to continue getting up.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. Well, so this next question, one of my favorite questions to ask as well, is two-part. One is professional, and then we'll close it with personal. But you have especially a different angle of looking at it, because you've looked down to the barrel, so to speak, at leaving legacy. So legacy, what is it that you would want to leave behind, and that message that drives you both professionally and then personally?
My legacy is simple, really. I want to prove that you can lead with strength, integrity, and empathy and still win. I want to help people. I want people to remember that I helped them build things that worked, teams, systems, organizations, but also that I help people believe in themselves and push through things that they didn't really think that they could. And most importantly, that I didn't let the circumstances define me. I chose how I showed up every single time, and I want to encourage others to do the same. And of course, the legacy is I want something that my sons and my grandson can be proud of. It's not just about, if I'm leaving them money, because I don't really have much of that. It's that I leave something for them to be proud of. And, walking a runway in New York and in Paris Fashion Week at 52, almost 52 at 5'2", my kids, they're so proud of their mom, even that. It's an experience that I didn't say no to, and that just fell into my lap somehow, and I just kept going.
That is so incredible. That I just love every bit of your story is just amazing. So if somebody wants to learn more about you and they want to invite you to come speak on their stage, how does someone find Beth Leonard?
Well, LinkedIn is probably the best way to go about doing that. I'm focused on a few key areas, about the operational excellence, the compliance strategy, and building systems that actually drive results, not just pass the audits, but speaking on emotional intelligence, keynote speaking, resiliency. I want to be able to get to a place where I am on stage to be able to make a difference for people, whether that be in organizations directly or on a larger scale. I'm building initiatives that support women navigating cancer and life transitions through the Beyond My Ribbon Foundation that I'm starting. But the best place to find me and connect is LinkedIn, where I share insights, experiences, practical strategies. And you can, of course, reach out and message me and get my email and contact information that way. Just being open to meaningful conversations and collaborations and opportunities to make an impact is most important for me.
Yes, I think that is definitely the theme, impact. You have impacted my life, just the essence of meeting you, to having this wonderful conversation and to share you with the world today. Beth,
Thank you.
thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you.
today on Women Getting Visible. And until next time, my friends, check out Beth on LinkedIn, and we will see you soon. Bye. Who's up next in the Golden Chair? Join us next week. I'm your host, Christina Vidovich of Women Getting Visible.